Florida. Welcome to the southernmost state of the USA, where for most of the time the sun shines truly bright. A place of excitement and joie de vivre. And the Everglades, a fascinating swampland located on the edge of the super metropolis of Miami. Miami is a magnificent holiday resort that boasts some of the finest entertainment parks on earth. It's the world's greatest playground, for young and old alike. The home of the rich and the super rich, as well as some unusual wildlife. And where both flamboyance and kitsch reign supreme. Here, night turns into day, and rockets, satellites, and astronauts zoom into space. Miami is not usually plagued by cloudy skies. It's a glittering metropolis in southern Florida. The sunshine soon returns. Life gradually stirs along the endless beaches that are extremely popular with holidaymakers. Miami Beach is a narrow island just off the mainland and Miami City. A leisure world of the young and the beautiful, and of the rich and famous. In 1915, millionaire Carl Fisher had a road constructed through the island's dense and snake-infested mangrove forest. Some years later, the island was deforested and 500 hotels were built. The magnificent sandy beaches became a tourist paradise. Stars and various other members of the glitterati have rediscovered the island. And now it entertains a whole new generation of visitors. The Art Deco district is southern Florida's colorful shop window, the most popular district in Miami, and unique in the world. Considering the extraordinary splendor, it's difficult to believe that many of these 500 properties were once in a dilapidated state of repair. Everyone has heard of the famous street that was featured in the TV series Miami Vice. And murdered fashion designer Versace also once lived there. The colourful facades of the city's hotel shine out in the sunlight, and the popular bars, cafes and restaurants act as a magnet for tourists. At dusk, this district comes alive. It's when the high life of Miami Beach begins, and the Art Deco district becomes a mass of neon light. The nights are warm, and the windows and doors of the bars are kept wide open. Music is heard on the streets, and there's no lack of entertainment here. In recent years, the average age of the city's population has fallen to 42. This is where the city's ultra-trendy bars are located. Each night is a real adventure, and everyone dances until sunrise. The city's Art Deco architects experimented with various designs, materials and neon, and created a colourful world that has transformed night into day. In these amazing surroundings, nighttime is always busy. In the past century, Miami has been transformed into an exciting metropolis. The striking skyline of downtown originated at the beginning of the 1980s. A landscape of modern skyscrapers, flamboyant luxury, and architectural splendor. The city's commercial success is highlighted by its financial center, with huge glass palaces that sparkle in the sunlight. And are illuminated at night. The city centre is at its busiest during office hours, when the air conditioning is working flat out and numerous international business transactions take place. Since 1984, the fully automatic overhead railway, the Metro Mover, has encircled the city centre. It's a futuristic and novel way of travelling. The rails are supported by huge posts, and the carriages travel through canyon-sized spaces between the skyscrapers. The stations look like something from another planet. The Metro-Dade Cultural Center is situated downtown. Several Spanish-style buildings surround a large plaza that is decorated with colorful and contemporary works of art. The city's History Museum is also located here. Here one can learn of Florida's early boom years, when Henry Flagler had the railroad constructed in this region and Julia Tuttle founded the city. Soon everyone wanted to visit the Miami Riviera. The perfect dream holiday was born, and the city just grew and grew, right up until the present day. Miami is synonymous with relaxation and sunshine. The Bayside Marketplace is ideal for shopping. It's situated on the route to Key Biscayne, and it contains more than 150 shops, cafes and restaurants. This modern open-air shopping centre, located at the Yacht Harbour close to downtown, is well worth a visit. A trip around the harbour is a must. And there's always a chance of a glimpse of the sailing ship on which Marlon Brando starred in Mutiny on the Bounty. The boat travels past the new harbour districts, and the port of Miami is the busiest cruise ship harbour in the world. The finest luxury liners embark from here to the Caribbean. Star Island is the name of a small island that's situated just off Miami Beach, a place of tranquil exclusivity. Many of the rich and famous live here. Each villa is located at the water's edge, and impressive yachts lie at anchor just outside the front door. Coral Gables was built in the 1920s and was designed by architect George Merrick. In flamboyant Southern European style, as was the Venetian pool that was used as a tropical swimming pool for the very rich. The Biltmore Hotel, whose tower is a replica of the Giralda in Seville, was also designed by Merrick. This is Miami's most attractive and most tranquil district. The heart of Cuba lies not in Cuba, but close to Coral Gables. The Fairchild Tropical Garden is located in Biscayne Bay. It's one of the largest botanical gardens in America, and is to be found in the Matheson-Hammond Park. Strange trees and bushes, exotic flowers, an authentic rainforest, and unusual wildlife and fruit. It's a natural paradise. A well laid out park complex that is yet another feature of this remarkable metropolis. It covers more than 30 hectares and was originally a swamp. Tiny trains are available to take visitors to the park's various attractions. The park's artificial lakes are linked by small watercourses. They form a border between the various landscapes of this fascinating park. Many from the Bahamas came to settle in Coconut Grove, and they were soon followed by various folk from all over the world. Since the 1950s, Virginia Key has been the home of the Miami Seaquarium, a marvelous world of marine life. The Seaquarium soon became world famous due to the incredible performances of its marine life. It's well worth a visit. With its 70 rooms, Vizcaya Castle was built as an extravagant winter residence according to Italian Renaissance design. It was built in 1916 in Biscayne Bay. A manufacturer of agricultural machinery, James Deering, had this enchanting castle built during the First World War. It's thought to have cost $15 million. Stone busts and figures, fountains, water basins and pavilions decorate this fairy tale-like garden. Almost 4 hectares of gardens of both French and Italian design complete this impressive property. And wealthy Americans just can't resist European architecture. A famous magazine wrote about the castle, a triumph of nostalgia that commemorates the golden age of both art and architecture. Deering decorated his villa, as he referred to the castle, with magnificent antiques and amazing works of art. It also contained a small harbour. Its landing stage is reminiscent of a ship made of stone. It's rumoured that Deering hid his alcoholic beverages here during Prohibition. The building looks especially inviting when arriving here by water. It's easy to imagine how excited any new arrivals must have been. They must have been overwhelmed by so much splendour. More than 1,000 workers and artists worked for 4 years on this fascinating masterpiece of Italian architecture. Classical European design on American soil. The Florida Keys are a group of 31 coral islands that extend from Miami on the southern point of Florida to the Caribbean. The first and largest is Key Largo, made famous by a Hollywood movie. starred Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, who survived a hurricane here, a region well known for its savage storms. The Overseas Highway travels across 43 bridges and past numerous turquoise blue bays in a southerly direction. A journey on this highway is quite an experience. Finally, we arrive at the last island and the end of the tour. Key West, a fascinating and inspiring place for creative people. And of course, tourists. Over 1 million of them come here each year. Now an indelible part of the scenery. Tourist trains and buses travel across the 5-kilometre long island to the southernmost point of the landmass of the United States. Key West has a dramatic history. It was once owned by both the Spanish and the English. A railroad was also built here. The region prospered due to its sponge industry and the manufacture of cigars, as well as the salvage gained from numerous shipwrecks. However, in 1930, Key West suddenly became bankrupt. Its houses and gardens gradually deteriorated, until various hippies and artists rediscovered the island, plus a number of philosophers and scholars. Now the villas of both Truman and Hemingway have been turned into museums and are open to the public. Neither hurricanes nor pirates could destroy Key West. It's been rebuilt again and again, each time larger and more beautiful than before. The region is a melting pot of immigrants from Latin America and the Caribbean. A unique American cocktail of glamour, luxury, and harsh reality. Cruise ships anchor in the harbour, and fishing boats are available for hire. The Everglades, a vast expanse of freshwater swamps that cover southern Florida and are located 50 kilometers from Miami. Throughout the year, the majority of the 6,000 square kilometre national park is covered with the slow-flowing waters of the Okeechobee River. Small tree-covered islands known as hardwood hammocks contain a large variety of tropical vegetation. The idyllic remoteness of this charming, sheltered landscape and the wonderfully warm, humid climate of southern Florida provide ideal growing conditions for both flora and fauna. However, the ecology of the Everglades is quite fragile. Even the smallest deviation could spell disaster. Amid the park is Everglades City that was founded by some alligator hunters. Wide roads on dams cross this grass lake. Apart from the waters of Lake Okeechobee, heavy rainstorms also contribute to the extensive swampland that is predominantly covered with sawgrass. The last subtropical wilderness of the USA. Next, a short excursion into the wilderness in a vehicle that looks similar to a tall tractor and that has been adapted to the difficult terrain. We travel through the muddy swampland, then through a typical forest in which a raccoon watches us from above. The airboat, a boat with an air screw, is the most popular means of transport for excursions in this muddy swamp. The river is relatively calm most of the time. Although it's only 15 centimetres deep, its flooded areas are approximately 80 kilometres wide. This large nature preserve is totally fascinating, and even its millions of mosquitoes add to the sense of adventure. Imperceptibly, the Grass River travels almost 160 kilometers southwards until it flows into Florida Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. The excursion boats provide splendid views of the natural landscape and its wildlife. This swampland is one of the last natural refuges for numerous rare species of wildlife that have been hunted by man almost to extinction. The Miccosukee Indians were forced to hide in the almost inaccessible areas of the swampland following the final Seminoles War in the middle of the 19th century. Within their tropical surroundings, the Indians built several settlements and survived by way of agriculture and hunting, in competition with the alligators. But today they make their living by making souvenirs. But the creation of canals and drainage systems has transformed the life of this modest indigenous tribe. Florida's native Indians originated from 300 courageous Seminole Indians who escaped from the US government and fled into the Everglades. Bonita Springs, with its Everglades Wonder Gardens, is situated northwest of Miami, near the Gulf of Mexico. The park features wildlife from the Everglades. This wildlife refuge was created in 1936 and was later enlarged with botanical gardens and further animals from all over the world. Of particular note is a large collection of extraordinary skulls and bones of the region's wildlife. General Williams, who served in the Dixieland Army, founded Naples, that eventually developed into the most beautiful town on the West Coast. The small fishing village, whose name is derived from the King of Naples, has since developed into an elegant holiday resort. long sandy beaches are particularly inviting for the many families who come here. The small island of Sanibel is located just off the Gulf Coast. Over the centuries, the mangrove forests with their strong roots have stabilized the coastal sand against the ever-changing tides. A holiday paradise that also protects nature. The island's special attraction is the J.N. Ding Darling National Wildlife Park, a wonderful birdlife sanctuary. Hundreds of species of stork and waterfowl inhabit this protected nature reserve. This subtropical landscape is home to heron, pelicans, ibis, pink spoonbills, darters and various other birds, as well as alligators. And nature always puts on a first-class display, especially when seen at close quarters on foot or travelling by canoe in the mangrove swamps. The nature reserve was named after Norwood Ding Darling, a cartoonist from New York who also wanted to protect wildlife. Since 1934, each year Darling has designed a stamp that features an animal. It's produced an income that's helped conserve this area, and the local wildlife has been thankful for this ever since. One man transformed the small town of Sarasota into the cultural capital of Florida. The great circus owner, John Ringling. In 1911, Ringling had his winter home built here, and in 1926 he also had his residence, Kazan, constructed within this parkland. It was modelled on the Doge's Palace in Venice and the Italian gardens. He'd seen the gardens on his numerous travels across Europe and was captivated by them. A Roman war chariot decorates the inner courtyard, along with statues of gods, heroes and characters from both Greek and Roman mythology. The internal rooms of the complex were eventually turned into a museum in which paintings of the various members of the Ringling family are displayed alongside great works of art. Since 1930, the largest private collection of the works of Flemish artist Peter Paul Rubens has been on public view here. The House of the Johannes is a successful combination of elements of Venetian Gothic and Italian Renaissance. A fascinating creation of colour, form and materials. The property's garages have now been transformed into a circus museum with all kinds of marvellous subjects from the circus world. At the tender age of 16, John Ringling and 4 of his brothers travelled the country. They played music and also performed comedy. In 1884, they founded a circus, and later 2 of their other brothers joined them. They soon became extremely successful. The Ringling Brothers bought the Barnum and Bailey Circus, and their greatest show on earth was performed around the world. Even the wagons that contained the big cats were beautifully decorated, as were the barrel organs whose exciting sound heralded the fact that the circus was in town. But the story of the Ringlings had an unhappy ending. 1929 changed their good fortune. John's wife passed away, and the collapse of the stock exchange spelled ruin. The king of the circus died aged 70. Long before John F. Kennedy visited Tampa Bay, only indigenous natives and pirates lived here. Henry Plant laid the railway line as far as the Florida coast, and his hotel became a museum. Behind Russian Orthodox facades crowned by Moorish minarets, the railway company's wealthy guests were once entertained. But Tampa Bay's main attraction is the world-famous Busch Gardens that feature an abundance of African fauna. Fantastic landscapes in which white tigers contentedly move within lush green grass and alongside spectacular waterfalls. A steam locomotive pulls shining green carriages through the huge entertainment park that contains more than 2,800 animals. The small train slowly winds its way through the park, past restaurants, flamingo ponds, and various other attractions. Suddenly, there's a natural African landscape with several large wildlife enclosures, whose occupants remain unfazed by the train. The scenery constantly changes, and orangutans alternate with herds of elephants and large numbers of flamingos. It's like being in Africa. The park can also be seen from above. A slowly moving cable car leads past huge sand castles and above a marine theatre. Even a roller coaster is visible from the treetops. For the stout-hearted who wish to experience the real Africa, various safaris are on offer, travelling through spacious enclosures. Our feathered friends always draw a crowd. And the colourful parrots all seem to have a personality of their own. Whether fast asleep or wide awake, the slender-tailed meerkats spend their lives on sandy ground. All the animals here are well cared for. Even the endangered and sensitive orangutans live here in natural surroundings and free from outside dangers. For the very young, there's much to see and do. And everyone enjoys the band. Birds perform tricks. As well as the dolphins and the seals in the marine theatre. A soaking wet journey in a tree trunk or a wild water canal. Then perhaps a white-knuckle ride on the roller coaster at breakneck speed. The carriages travel overhead and defy the laws of gravity. American Africa is a popular project that has been created by one of the largest brewery companies in the world. Orlando was founded in 1875 as an agricultural distribution centre. Today, the biggest entertainment parks in the world are located here and attended by almost 43 million visitors each year. Crazy America, or the largest playground in the USA with almost 100 attractions, Orlando is the entertainment paradise of the world. SeaWorld is a world-famous marine park. It features amazing shows and incredible animal stunts that are simply breathtaking. Canny seals help to ward off pirates. And sometimes even visitors get wet. And here, as in Busch Gardens, Anheuser-Busch Brewery has invested a lot of money in the highly profitable entertainment business. Threatened by extinction elsewhere, huge manatees live here with no cares in the world. Well protected and well fed. The dolphins swim with ease. Dolphins are to be seen everywhere. They're the omnipresent mascots of the park. These intelligent animals enjoy contact with man, moving through the water with a real smile on their face, and allowing their trainers to ride on their backs while being stroked by their admirers. Entertainment provided by motorboat, water ski and scooter stuntmen attracts hordes of spectators several times a day into a large marine theatre. The park's main attraction is to be found in the Shamu Stadium. Here, orca whales and their offspring perform a variety of fascinating tricks. These gigantic inhabitants of the ocean splash their fins at the audience and throw their trainers through the air. Demonstration of human and animal relationships second to none.
Understand it's vital control.
On the east coast of the Florida Peninsula, Cape Canaveral juts out into the Atlantic. As far back as 1949, the Rocket Trial Zone, as it was then known, was built here, an area that has been further developed and extended to become the world-famous space station it is today. From here, the first Americans were sent into orbit and landed on the moon. Since it all began with Wernher von Braun's V2 rocket, more than 110 manned spaceflights have been launched from the Cape. The space shuttles that transport astronauts to daring missions in space begin and end here. A glimpse into the amazing cockpit and to see the astronauts' spacesuits really does evoke a strong sense of science fiction. Now the journey into the history of space travel can begin. During the golden years of US space travel, up to 25,000 people were employed here. The Kennedy Space Center is the last stop on Earth before the amazing flight into the cosmos. Buses transport visitors from all over the world, from one attraction to another. Models of numerous rockets are on display, along with monitors that show the original pre-launch countdown procedure. A viewing platform has been built on one of the roofs. From here, and distributed over an enormous area, various launch pads can be seen in the distance. We now move to the next attraction. The original layout of the Launch Surveillance Control Room is featured in the Apollo Saturn V Center. In an impressive multimedia show, visitors can experience a simulated countdown just like the real thing. The rocket moves slowly from the ground with a huge roar of thunder, followed by a glowing stream of hot gas. And here it is, a close-up view of that famous rocket. The focal point of this spectacular display is the fully restored Saturn V moon rocket. The Apollo missions are reminiscent of the moon landings that were undertaken using these tiny controls and instruments. Here, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins began their unforgettable journey to the moon in 1969. And in 1981, Robert Crippen and John Young set off on the first space shuttle mission. The moon capsules that were intended for the astronauts were mounted on the nose cone of carrier rockets. Next, a quick glimpse into the area in which these rockets, capsules and vehicles have been constructed and assembled by countless specialists. Certain elements of a space station are on display. This multinational project is in its advanced stages of completion. Some time ago, the future began right here. The Kennedy Space Center is America's gateway to the stars, from where rockets, satellites and astronauts are launched into the universe to explore the unknown. More than one small step for mankind. Kennedy is a giant leap into the future. Today, Fort Lauderdale is a popular residential area located on the South Atlantic coast. Its harbour and sandy beaches are situated in front of newly built skyscrapers. Bathing and fishing, as well as numerous boat excursions, are a daily part of the local scene. A journey on the Jungle Queen that travels along several canals is a must. A real American Venice. A nostalgic Mississippi steamer negotiates the harbour. We travel past various luxury yachts that lie at anchor. Next, the canals. Private residences are located at the water's edge, Venetian style, but this time under the Florida sun. Fort Lauderdale was once a heavily fortified camp. A number of its buildings have survived, a small remnant of American history. In 1838, Major William Lauderdale had a fort built here during the Seminole Wars to protect the settlers on the east coast from Indian attack. Some years later, trader Frank Stranahan moved to this sunny region for health reasons. And he soon began to trade with furs and skins that he bought from the Indians. When Henry Morrison Flagler extended the railroad from West Palm Beach to Miami, this previously tranquil area was invaded by vast numbers of settlers. Today, good-natured Americans in pretty houses with neat gardens reside along the almost 500 kilometers of both the artificial and natural waterways of Fort Lauderdale. Here, the glittering world of Miami Beach and snobbery of Palm Beach is light years away. Just an enchanting canal landscape that was created in the 1920s. The fastest way to get around is by water, as motor vehicles are often halted by drawbridges to allow ships to go through. The mosquito-infested mangrove swamps of yesteryear have now been replaced by a more civilized environment. The Jungle Queen interrupts her round trip for a short stop in a zoo where children are permitted to feed the animals or must wait patiently for the next show.
First of all, alligators don't eat people, but they'll kill you for sport. If you're out there swimming next to
An alligator trainer explains many interesting facts about the former inhabitants of this area. He pulls one out of the water and opens its jaws. Then he fearlessly secures its mouth with a rope.
Okay. Now this will not hurt this animal. Main reason why 5 minutes after, like I said, you don't remember what happened.
At the end of the show, and much to the enjoyment of its younger visitors, a baby alligator wearing a trapper's hat can be seen at close quarters.
Okay, in the back.
Due to its watery location, in Fort Lauderdale, nautical knowledge is just as important as a driving license. It's good to walk by the many impressive boatyards that are dotted all around this area. A drawbridge opens up and tourists rush to take a final photo of these splendid buildings. Not surprisingly, this area has had more motorboats, water taxis and yachts than any other city in Florida. A floating holiday resort. Splendid villas and abundant gardens indicate the wealth of those who own them. A tiny paradise in the south of the Sunshine State. Florida is a magical place with endless beaches, cute wildlife performers and fine replicas of European architecture. The finger-shaped peninsula extends from the American mainland to the Caribbean, its southernmost point lying close to Cuba. This is a place of the history of the circus and the exploration of outer space. A place of entertainment parks and unforgettable adventures. The Miami skyline gives this incredibly successful metropolis an exotic look. It's just one of Florida's many amazing faces.